The FIFA World Cup is finally here, the biggest one we've ever seen. 48 teams, 3 host nations, and 104 matches to be played. But before we begin, I want to ask you guys one question. When you think about the World Cup, what is the first thing that comes to mind? For me, it isn't the goals, it isn't the trophy, it's people. People from different corners of the world, different languages, different cultures, all coming together for 1 month to celebrate a beautiful game. But as we've approached this tournament, all the headlines have been about visa issues, travel restrictions, safety concerns, and even questions about whether or not certain countries will be allowed to participate. So I know we all want to talk ball, but we need to address the big elephant in the room. So let's talk about this first. Omar Artan, the Somali referee, who was named Africa's best ref in 2025. Now, I'm Egyptian, by the way. So let me tell you this. I watch African football all the time, and it's not a hard achievement. All you have to do as a ref is blow the whistle at the end of the 90 minutes. What am I talking about? Look at this. This ref over here blew the whistle in the 85th minute, 5 minutes before the end of play. Why? Because he can't be asked. Now, on a serious note, imagine reaching the pinnacle of your career for it to be taken away from you just like that. Weirdly enough, UEFA have now named him the ref for the Super Cup final between PSG and Villa, like it's some sort of compensation. And this all happened as a result of all the uproar from social media. We haven't even mentioned Iran yet. Obviously, there's a lot of politics going on in the world right now, and we're not going to get into that. But at the end of the day, Iran is a team that earned its right to compete at the world's biggest stage. And we didn't know whether or not they'll be able to compete up until just before the tournament even started. And now that we know they will compete, they've been given terms and conditions. And what are those conditions? Iran will have to arrive, play, and leave all in the same day if they were to play in US soil. Let's talk about Ayman Hussein as well, the Iraqi striker, another professional athlete. He was held at the airport for over 7 hours being interrogated. The point I'm trying to get at is every single World Cup we've had a feeling of welcoming, welcomeness, if that's English. There was a welcoming vibe to it. This World Cup feels so unwelcoming. Imagine I invited you over to my house to watch the football and I said, nah, you can't sit down, you have to stand up. Or even better, you can't use the toilet. In fairness, I do say that to my boys. But then again, I'm not hosting a World Cup. The other business that is a bit funny to me is this whole searching. Just look at Kevin De Bruyne. This is a well-known footballer. What are we looking for here? Assists. Even Fabio Cannavaro, the centre-back who won the Ballon d'Or, who's now managing Uzbekistan, came out and said, this just feels weird. It just feels weird. And then he was later told that this is just standard procedure and whatnot. And everyone was quick to criticize the Qatar World Cup. And I'm also not going to get into that as well, because fair enough, for whatever reason, it should have been criticized. But at the end of the day, the one thing they had was hospitality. And like I said, this World Cup just feels so unwelcoming to everyone. From a footballing perspective, I haven't mentioned the stadiums. And you might think, this guy is so negative. And for 1 second, I'm actually going to be positive. I think it's a good idea having the World Cup hosted by 3 different countries. Imagine your country hosted the World Cup, how gassed you would be. I know if England hosted the World Cup, we'd be over the moon. Can you imagine the final being played at Wembley, having Brazil, Morocco at Anfield? I'm not going to be talking about Stamford Bridge because, yeah, shit show. But like I said, 3 different host nations isn't a terrible idea considering the World Cup happens every 4 years. So it helps the ball move on, if that makes sense. Now we've got next is Spain, Morocco, and I forgot who the other, Portugal. Spain, Morocco, and Portugal are hosting the next World Cup. The stadiums have been immaculate. Just look at this SoFi Stadium. Look at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yes, I understand they've all been NFL stadiums that have been converted into football grounds. And you know what? Let me agree with you for a second. One of the countries hosting the World Cup is Mexico. For me, there's a fine balance between looking at these new fancy stadiums and football heritage.
This is football heritage.
When you think about the World Cup, you automatically think about Pele, Maradona, both of which lifted the trophy in the Azteca. Why isn't a final being hosted in the Azteca? To me, all of this tournament, all these little bits and pieces are turning around and making it a more of a US Cup rather than the World Cup. I asked you guys a question at the beginning of the video, and that is this the most controversial World Cup? And to me, we're certainly heading towards that direction. The football, South Africa, Mexico, there was 3 red cards in a single game. To put into perspective, there was 4 red cards in the whole of the World Cup in Qatar in 2022, and then 4 in Russia 2018. We're in 3 in one match. We're definitely going to beat that record. Now, guys, like I said, I needed to get all of this off my chest before we started talking ball. Pause. But now that it's out the way, I want to know your opinion. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm just waffling here? Is this World Cup feeling a bit different to what we've had in the past? Moving forward, we will talk ball. The 2 teams that I will be focusing on mainly are England and Egypt, and my next video will be the preview for England and Croatia. So catch me in the next one, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one in a bit.